precision training, tailoring heavy-duty training for hard gainers. Mike Mentzer's philosophy challenges the traditional more is better approach in bodybuilding. According to Mike, the key to productive training isn't about piling on sets or cramming in frequent workouts. It's about delivering just the right stimulus for growth. For hard gainers whose bodies cannot tolerate large volumes of exercise, less is not only more, but exactly what is needed. Rooted in a fundamental theory advanced by Arthur Jones, Mike asserts that for exercise to be productive, it must be intense, brief, and infrequent. As he explains,
Arthur Jones advanced this theory 20 years ago, namely that to be productive, exercise has to be intense, brief, and infrequent. Those are the three principles of the theory. He was right. I recognized it immediately.
This concise statement sets the stage for a training paradigm that values precision over excess. A divergence in application, evolving the theory. While Jones established a powerful foundation, Mike recognized a crucial gap in its application. He observed that Jones' universal prescription failed to account for the genetic variability in individual recovery and exercise tolerance. Mike explains his departure from a one-size-fits-all approach.
When he first advanced that theory 20 years ago, he suggested that everybody trained the full body 3 days a week with 12 to 15 sets of workout. Now, compared to everything else being espoused at the time, all other training theories, that certainly did seem brief and infrequent. But here was the one bit of crucial knowledge he was missing. There exists a wide range of variation among individuals with regard to exercise tolerance.
In this statement, Mike makes clear that while Jones' principles were groundbreaking, they did not address the reality that each trainee occupies a different position on the genetic continuum of recovery ability. For some, the high-intensity stimulus must be pared down dramatically, tailored to the individual's unique capacity, rather than applied uniformly. This insight led Mike Mentzer to refine the theory into a model that demands precision in both volume and frequency, ensuring that every workout is calibrated to the trainee's personal genetic blueprint. Understanding the genetic continuum of exercise tolerance. Central to Mike's argument is the concept that each individual's capacity for recovery is genetically determined. He explains this by drawing a vivid analogy.
Don't you know certain people, Bill, who don't tolerate exposure to high-intensity ultraviolet sunlight as well as others?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a genetic trait. Follow me here. All genetic traits are expressed across a broad continuum. The most directly perceivable genetic trait is height. With regard to height, you've got midgets at one extreme and the giants of the NBA at the other. That's a wide range of expression of a genetic trait, from midget to giant. With intelligence, you've got morons at the far left end and geniuses at the far right and everything in between. Then again, with individual sunlight tolerance, you've got albinos, Scandinavians at the left end and darker skin types at the right who can tolerate long periods of frequent exposure to high-intensity sunlight. I have the evidence, but don't you think it stands to reason that that same thing would apply to individual exercise tolerance?
Exactly.
This passage underlines that, just as with height or intelligence, exercise tolerance exists on a spectrum. For the individual trainee, the challenge is to discover where they fall on this genetic scale. In other words, to find the precise dosing frequency of exercise that matches their unique recovery ability. Recognizing the hard gainer's unique needs. Mike illustrates the practical implications of this genetic variability with a personal account. He observed that some of his clients were simply unable to handle high volumes without stalling their progress.
I have some clients, Bill, who are only doing 3 sets every 7 days. Until I got them down to that, they were making no progress. That was the one bit of crucial knowledge that Arthur Jones was missing 20 years ago.
This realization led him to tailor training protocols specifically for hard gainers. In one detailed example, he recounts how he modified a young man's regimen to better suit his recovery capacity.
This one particular young man came to me 2 years ago. As a result of having read my books and articles, he came to understand the theory of high-intensity training. He recognized its validity. He came to me, therefore, wildly enthusiastic, fully expecting to achieve the greatest progress of his life. When he came to me, I put him on a standard training protocol of 7 sets per workout, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. After 3 months, he was making almost no progress. Now remember, he came to me wildly enthusiastic. After 3 months of no progress, he became dispirited, disheartened. He was ready to give up. Now, 2 years ago, I hadn't been training people all that long myself, so this was kind of a new experience. I was a little bit confused, too. I gave it some thought one day and sat him down, and I said, now look, let's not regard this thing merely as a physical adventure, but an intellectual one as well. Let's go to the theory that you and I both recognize as the one and only possible valid theory of productive bodybuilding exercise, the theory of high-intensity training. Let's go to the first principle, the principle of intensity. This young man and I both recognized and agreed that he was not faking the intensity bill. He was carrying each set's failure. Therefore, he was doing everything a human being could possibly do to stimulate and increase strength and size. We were left to conclude that the increase was not being produced. I'm making a distinction here between growth stimulation and growth production. You don't actually grow during the workout. The workout merely serves as a stimulus. It sets the growth process into motion. The body produces the growth during the rest period. It only stands to reason if the rest period is not sufficient. That is, if you're doing any more sets per workout, or any more workouts in a given unit of time that are minimally required to stimulate the optimal increase, to that extent you're overtraining, and to that extent you'll be hampering and possibly be preventing the production of the increase. So that's what we concluded. We concluded that while he was stimulating the increase, his body was not able to produce it because he was overtraining. So to remedy the situation, I cut his workouts back from 7 sets to only 5. And I reduced the frequency from every other day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, to every third day. So now he was training Monday, taking Tuesday and Wednesday off, training Thursday, taking Friday and Saturday off, training Sunday. Then, of course, the next week he would not work out Monday. He would take Monday and Tuesday off, training Wednesday, every 72 hours. What happened? He remained stagnant. He even regressed a little bit. This really surprised me. Up to that time, I had never encountered such a client, one who was unable to make any progress. This is when I started giving some considerable thought to what I knew about genetics, how genetic traits are expressed across a broad continuum. If you've got midgets and giants with regard to height, again, a broad continuum of expression, a very broad continuum. You've got morons and geniuses and intelligence. Well, then it only stood to reason that the same thing would apply to individual exercise tolerance. This young man was a midget of recovery ability. So, to further remedy the situation, I cut his workouts back even further in terms of volume, from 5 sets to only 3, and the frequency from every third day to every 5th day. And guess what happened, Bill? He started making progress.
3 sets.
Right.
Is that 3 sets per body part or 3 sets?
Sets total for everything.
By drastically reducing both volume and frequency, Mike demonstrated that for hard gainers, a minimalist approach, when precisely calibrated to the individual's recovery capacity, can break the cycle of stagnation. The specific prescription for hard gainers. Mike Mentzer's method wasn't solely about reducing the overall workload. It also involved selecting exercises that would maximize benefit. For those with low exercise tolerance, his protocol zeroed in on compound movements that engaged multiple muscle groups efficiently.
He would do a set of squats for his lower body, a set of pull-downs, close grip underhand pull-downs for his back and biceps, and a set of heavy incline presses or dips for his chest, shoulders, and triceps.
And that was his workout.
I don't have everybody doing this. There are those individuals, remember, that don't tolerate high-intensity exercise as well as others.
This carefully chosen trio of exercises underscores the principle that quality and intensity, when properly dosed, can elicit growth without the risk of overtraining. One set is all you need. One of the core tenets of Mike Mentzer's training philosophy is that the final rep of a set, performed to momentary muscular failure, is the critical trigger for muscle growth. In his view, once that decisive rep is achieved, the growth machinery of the muscle is activated, and additional sets become redundant. This minimalist approach not only streamlines training, but also minimizes the risk of overtraining. Supporting this concept, Mike states,
once you have stimulated growth by going to failure, you don't have to do it again. It's like when you throw the switch to turn on a light. Once you've thrown the switch, you're confident that the electrical mechanism is in motion. You don't stand there all day flipping the switch up and down, do you?
I'm telling you unequivocally, listeners, with all of my training clients, including Dorian Yates, Aaron Baker, David Dirk, David Paul, one set per exercise is all that's needed. It works every time.
This perspective is bolstered by scientific research. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology in 2012 established that training to failure is the trigger mechanism for muscle growth, irrespective of the weight used. Furthermore, a study by Rodney et al. In 1994 reported that training to failure produced gains of 41.2% compared to only 19.7% for submaximal sets. These findings, along with the research by Carpinelli and Otto in 1998, which reviewed multiple studies comparing single versus multiple sets, reinforce the idea that one well-executed set taken to failure is sufficient to stimulate muscle growth. Conclusion: precision over excess. In Mike Mentzer's own words, the objective is to determine
that amount which is required, the precise or least amount required to stimulate the increase.
For hard gainers, the pathway to muscle growth isn't about enduring endless sets and frequent workouts. It's about respecting one's individual genetic limitations and tailoring training accordingly. Mike Mentzer's insights challenge conventional training wisdom and empower hard gainers to break free from stagnation. By embracing the reality of genetic variability and exercise tolerance, his approach offers a clear roadmap. Find your place on the continuum and train just enough to stimulate growth without overwhelming your body's capacity to recover.